so like we do every year, it's time to do a review of the NFL divisions ahead of the season. We're about 3 weeks away from the year, and I'm so excited. And we're going to kick this off doing the AFC and NFC East. How it goes is we break down the NFC East into a few different categories, and then in the end we give our bold predictions for the division and we give our division winners. So starting off with the AFC East, who would you say is the most underrated team in that division?
Which division did you say?
AFC East. So that's Patriots, Dolphins, Jets, and Bills.
AFC, I think the most underrated team right now probably will be the Patriots. And the reason I say this is because a lot of people are looking at that offense and looking at the quarterback position and kind of like, what are they going to do? But a lot of people are forgetting that on the other side of the ball, a lot of the players that opted out last season are returning. And they had a formidable defense last season for an extended period. So you're actually adding starters to an already good defense. And we both know that Bill Belichick is a defensive guy first. So I would probably say the New England Patriots.
I almost went with the Patriots, and I do think that they definitely deserve to be in the conversation. But I want to go in a different route. I'm going to say the New York Jets. Now, I'm not saying this because I think they're going to make the playoffs or anything, but I do think that they are going to be a significantly improved team than where they were a year ago. With Zach Wilson, you're not really sure what you're getting out of him. But for one, the wide receiving core is much better after getting Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, who we're hearing a lot of things about and we'll get to later on. Defensively, they gotten better in bringing in guys like Carl Lawson, of course, bringing in a defensively minded head coach in Robert Saleh. I think that the Jets, like I said, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year or anything, but I do think that they are going to outperform some expectations. I think that as of right now, they're doing solid things to prepare for the future. All right, so moving on to the most overrated team. This is where I would put the Miami Dolphins. I think that, don't get me wrong, their defense played tremendous last year, but it's just I have a hard time thinking they're going to be able to replicate that success. Also, I don't think that their receiving core, or really that offense in general, is as good as people are trying to make it out to be. While Jalen Waddle is a very nice addition at wide receiver, I mean, Devontae Parker is still pretty hit or miss. Will Fuller is great when he's on the field, but injuries have been a concern. I'm not really sold on their running back group. And then it really just all comes down to the shoulders of Tua, and if he'll be able to produce, and if he's healthy, if he can really push the envelope. So while I can understand why there is some excitement around the Dolphins, I just don't see them as good as a lot of people think they are.
For me, I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. Yes, I know that Josh Allen had a fantastic season, but is he going to actually be able to reproduce it or get better in this coming season? He just got the bag, so we don't know. Like, they paid him as one of the top 5 best quarterbacks, but he only did it for one season. And honestly, in my personal opinion, their offense is incredibly imbalanced. Like, Josh Allen will throw for like 30 to 40 times a game, and they have no sign of a run game. They don't really have a sign of a defense. Like, a lot of the games that they played in last year were shootouts, and they won because they put up a lot of points. You run into a team with a good defense, and they know how to run the game and manage the clock. Can you really make plays to win the game? And also, in my personal opinion, if Stephon Diggs so happens to get hurt, I think that kind of shuts the offense, because outside of Cole Beasley, nobody else on the offense as a receiver or a tight end really shows that they can make like game-breaking plays.
I'm going to only disagree with you on that because they did sign Emmanuel Sanders.
True.
So, yeah.
I forgot about that.
But, yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that. I'm in agreement with you, especially with that run game. That run game is, I know I watched the press conference where Brian Doorball, their offensive coordinator, was saying it was by design. They purposely threw the ball so much, but I'm calling buffoonery on that. Just because I don't think you really want to put your young quarterback at risk so much. Like, I feel like you have to be able to rely on your run game at least at some times. And even when they have tried it, it really hasn't worked. But I definitely feel you on that about the Bills. All right, moving on to our favorite player in the division. Thought it would change. It's not changing. It's still cornerback Tre'Davious White for me of the Buffalo Bills.
For me, favorite player in the division, I am going to have to go with Wyman Christian Williams. Actually, no, Quentin Williams.
Quentin Williams, that's a fair one. Space. He's due for a big year as well. All right, so next one, prove it year. Which player do you feel like is under the most pressure to produce this season?
This is the obvious answer to me. I would have to say Cam Newton, just simply because of all the pressures that come with him being the quarterback. They just drafted Mac Jones to potentially replace him. And honestly, like Cam, he showed flashes last season in the early part of the season that he was still a competent quarterback, and then he kind of just fell off the face of the earth.
I almost went Cam, but kind of like you, I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to say Josh Allen. Biggest reason is last year he's coming off a year where his name was involved in the MVP conversation, made a major leap from his first 2 years in the league, made the Bills seem like a team that could contend for the Super Bowl. That's cool and dandy. But can you do it again? And not only that, but not only do you have all that pressure, but you got a big old contract extension. You're getting paid like a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. So I think that while I do agree with you about Cam, I think Cam is under a lot of pressure as well. I think that with Josh Allen, it's more so he has the nation's attention, but now can you keep it? Because now you're kind of seen as a golden boy or the next man up. But it's a whole nother thing to be seen as that and then actually producing it in another year. So I think he's under a lot of pressure this year. All right, so which rookie are you watching out of the division?
For me, I'm honestly watching two. Obviously, I think the first one would be Mac Jones simply because he's a quarterback. He's in a competition battle with Cam Newton. But the second one I'm definitely watching is Elijah Moore. I actually wanted the Tennessee Titans to draft Elijah Moore, so when I saw he got drafted to the Jets, I was extremely upset. But I think he's going to be one of those guys that comes in and he just makes a ton of plays. Like, he's a gamer. He's a football player. He's one of those guys that, you know, he might not make all the pretty plays, but he will make the plays that's needed.
I feel you. I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball. I'm still on the Gregory Rousseau bandwagon. Biggest reason being, there's a lot to like about Gregory Rousseau. His first year at Miami where he saw significant playing time, he got over 15 sacks, and this was his first true time as a defensive end. And though he's a raw player, if he's coached correctly, he could be one of the most prolific young edge rushers in the league. And looking back at the Buffalo Bills a year ago, their defense played very well, particularly their secondary, but they struggled at getting a pass rush. And I think that Rousseau could be a guy who can really help fix that. And if they can do that, as well as their offense continue to make pace, I think that the Buffalo Bills can be really solid this year. All right, so who is your breakout player of the division? Who you think that is a guy who hasn't been talked about much but is on the cusp of having the best year of his career?
Honestly, I'm going to go with Corey Davis. And someone that is a bias because he just left my Tennessee Titans. But I think that a lot of the things that plagued him in the past was he wasn't able to stay healthy. And I think that if he can stay healthy, especially with the Jets organization, like, he's going to be wide receiver one. He's going to get the looks. And he's shown that he's a guy, in my opinion, that can potentially make the plays that a wide receiver one can make. And I think he's going to put up 1,000 yards, maybe 5 to 6 touchdowns type of season.
All right. For me, I'm going to say another Jet, and I'm going to say cornerback Bryce Hall. Now, he's a guy who came out of the draft a couple years ago who I want to say got drafted in the 5th or 6th round, but would have gone higher had it not been for an ACL injury. He made some solid plays last year with the Jets, but I think that this year is really going to be a great opportunity for him to show just how good he was in college, and I think that it can translate, especially looking at the Jets roster right now. Their cornerback group is really lacking that star, and I think that this will be the perfect opportunity for him to step in and show what he can do. All right, so bold prediction for the AFC East. I don't know necessarily how bold it is, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think Mac Jones ends up getting the start from week 1 and leads the Patriots to a wild card playoff berth.
Well, no, it's crazy. We basically said the same thing. I was going to say I believe Mac Jones is going to start anywhere between week 1 to week 3.
Yeah, I think that because I was having a conversation about it with my friend Malik, who's a huge Cam Newton fan, and we were talking about the preseason game. And honestly, the thing about Mac Jones is even though his numbers may not have been the prettiest, he's the type of quarterback that perfectly fits what the Patriots have been doing for over 20 years. He fits the mold. He plays a similar game to that of Tom Brady when he was there. And so it's pretty much just a perfect fit as opposed to with Cam Newton when you essentially have to change the offense completely. So I think that's really going to be the biggest thing that leads Mac Jones to being the starter. All right, but even though with that being said, I think Bills still win the division.
Yeah, because I was going to say I watched a majority of their preseason game last night in what was it last night? Yeah,
Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday. I'm sorry, I'm getting my days mixed up. And Mac Jones, when he stepped on the field, the offense just moved so much better. It was smoother. It was more crisp. It was like he commanded the offense where he made smart decisions. He didn't force things. He just like I told you, me and you talked about it off air. I think he looked like a poor man's Tom Brady, the way that he maneuvered that offense.
Right. And honestly, as much as we hate it, it works. I mean, that's just what the Patriots way has been for years, and it has worked. And so I don't see any reason for them to change it. All right, so let's flip over to the NFC East, starting with who we think is the most underrated team. I'm gonna say the New York Giants. I get on Daniel Jones' head a lot, and rightfully so. But I think if you look at that overall roster, if you ask me, I think that they have the best put together roster of that division. Running backs are strong, wide receivers are good. The offensive line is but their tight ends are nice. Evan Ingram has shown potential when he doesn't drop the ball. Kyle Rudolph is going to be there, and we know how good of a tight end he is. Defensively, they don't necessarily have a weakness. So overall, I just think in terms of roster, I think the Giants are the best team. But like I said, quarterback is a big question. But I mean, compared to the other teams in the division, I would take their roster.
For me, I'm going to say a team that is very similar to what you just said, but I'm going with the Washington football team. Simply because they have questions at quarterback, like is it going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick? Is it going to be Taylor Heineke? And the reality is they have two good receivers in Trey Samuel and Terry McLaurin. The tight end position isn't that great, but it's serviceable. And they have a great upcoming running back, in my opinion, Antonio Gibson, that can rush the ball and make plays out of the backfield. And they have a top 5 defense, in my personal opinion. Only thing that's hindering them is quarterback play.
All right, so moving on to the most overrated team. We're probably going to have the same answer, but who you got?
The Dallas Cowboys. They always the most overrated team in that division.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that while I understand Dak is a very likable player, he doesn't overshadow just how bad that defense is. And I'm sorry, like in today's NFL, without at least an average defense, you're not going to have that much success. And right now, I can't even put the Cowboys defense at average. Like, it's not a good defense. They still have some problems. It's not a good look. So yeah, definitely most overrated. All right, who's your favorite player in that division?
My favorite player in that division, I am going to have to say, I'm not gonna have to say Zeke. I like Zeke as a player. So I don't like him sometimes with off the field decisions, but as a player, I really do like Zeke.
Yeah, my heart belongs to Saquon still. I mean, I'm a huge Saquon fan. Actually, he's my favorite running back in the league, if we're being honest. And I'm hoping for a big year out of him, but the biggest key is you got to stay healthy. All right, so prove it year. Who is having a prove it year in the NFC East for you?
This is a very easy one, and you might have the same person, Daniel Jones. This is a guy who has all the tools needed to be a good quarterback as far as weapons. He has Kenny Galladay. He has Evan Ingram. He had what's the other receiver for the Giants?
Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, Sterling Shepard, and the other guy that came on last year,
Darius Slayton.
Yeah, Darius Slayton. Did they draft Kadarius Toney too?
Yep.
So he has all of these weapons in place. I know his offensive line isn't the greatest, but it's like if you're able to, like, it's put up a shut up. Like, me and you talked about it off the air, where it's like this is a year that decides if he's going to stay a starting quarterback in the NFL. Because you have weapons. Yes, you don't have an O-line, but you have weapons that can make plays for you.
Yeah, without a doubt, I'm in total agreement with you with Daniel Jones. I mean, you pretty much hit it on the head. All right, so next up, breakout player. I'm gonna go another quarterback, and I'm gonna say Taylor Heineke. I think that while Ryan Fitzpatrick was brought in to be the number one quarterback, I do think that the difference between the two isn't that big. I think that we saw some nice flashes from Taylor Heineke, and I think that with the opportunity to get more playing time, I think that he could really compete for that starting role, and who knows, maybe even get the starting job earlier in the season. Even if he doesn't, within the first few weeks, I do still see him seeing significant playing time under center for Washington. I think that he has an opportunity to really make some plays for them.
For me, I'm going to go with rookie Kenny Gainwell from Memphis. I love my Memphis Tigers, and I watched a lot of him. I think he's a guy that he can fill a role kind of similar to a Tyreek Cohen role for the Eagles, where he can return kicks, he can rush the ball a tad bit, he can catch, they can design plays for him in the passing game, and he just can become an overall mismatch. I think that that's something that could really help the Eagles organization. So I'm going to go with Kenny.
I would love to see Kenny ball out. Like you said, those Memphis Tigers always rooting for him in some form or fashion. All right, so bold prediction for the NFC East. What you got?
Bold predictions. The Washington Redskins are winning the division. And honestly, I don't see either quarterback throwing over 30 touchdowns to win.
I could honestly see that. All right, mine is about the Dallas Cowboys. My bold prediction is Zeke has the best year of his career after Dak's shoulder's injury proves to be worse than expected. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier about if we were concerned about it or not. I think that the need for the MRI, maybe even multiple holding him out, I think that could be a precursor of things to come. And with Dak kind of health being in question right now, I think it's really going to open up opportunities for Zeke and that run game, particularly after the year that he just had, where it seemed like for the first time all the crap he got as a player was warranted. And I think that he's really going to be due for a bounce back. You said you got Washington winning the division. I think I'm still going to go with the Giants winning it, but I don't think it has anything to do with Daniel Jones. I think he's still gone after this year.